All right, the left and the right, they both do this. They both get trapped into these. They seem to forget that they're not. You're supposed to be adhering to ideas and ideals. Like you might be a nationalist, it might be ethno-tribalism, or you might be a constitutionalist, or you might be some mix of the two. And usually, those are the people on the right. The people on the left have got. I'm not sure what their ideals are, other than globalism, which is kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things that came before. It's Marxism, Leninism, Bolshevism, all this kind of stuff. It's now kind of loosely tied up into globalism, which is something else, something else different from socialism and communism, because they had like international and national versions of that too. Globalism is something new, and it's actually something even worse than communism. They managed to find a way to make communism fail even faster. Where's I going with this? Dogma is that when you find out that somebody's not your guy, like with Trump got in office, and who's that chick on? I don't know. She's on Fox, I think, and she's reading a couple of books. She's really funny, and she said, okay, I'm gonna keep track of, after Trump got elected, how many days it's been since he completed the wall. And people on the right who are these like MAGA normies go, oh well, give him time. And so she's keeping track of it. It's like 1 year goes on, and 2 years, 3, 4, and she's keeping track of the days since Trump completed the wall. She's holding his feet to the fire, and people on the right, or the MAGA people, are vaguely uncomfortable with her because she's daring to be honest. Because it's like Trump is irrelevant. It's the ideas and ideals he's supposedly adhering to. So it turns out, like, he never completed the wall. And, if he wanted to complete that wall, all he would have had to do was, if he needed to pull the military out of the Middle East, we can't do that because Israel controls the United States. Israel wants America in the Middle East. They're going to be in the Middle East. And, it's funny, before he elected, he said he wanted America out of the Middle East and the Stani regions. But then he got elected and everything changed. Weird how that happens. He could have pulled the military out, and he could have put them on the border, and as a matter of national security, had the military army build a wall. It would have been done in a year. It would have been in the budget. National security. The military could have been on the border, protecting the border. All those people who were deleted because of folks who crossed that line in the sand, which is there's nothing there, would have been saved if Trump had done that. Trump didn't do that, and she held him to the I forget what she looks like. She's like a tall, skinny blonde. She held his feet to the fire, and these MAGA idiots are like, oh well, Trump's our guy. Maybe he'll do it the next 4 years. No, he could have done it right off the bat. He said, oh, I'm coming for your guns. I don't no warrant necessary. We'll just come in and grab them. I think he's referring to ghost guns. It's like, well, Second Amendment doesn't say you can't have ghost guns, buddy. Or he said about the bump stock ban. Second Amendment doesn't say you can't have a bump stock. Any restrictions on the right to keep and bear arms were restrictions. And as soon as Trump said that, it's like you should have got that light bulb go over your head. Like, this isn't our guy. There's no saving Trump to get him back to follow the Constitution. Either you're a constitutionalist or you're not. Trump clearly is not, if he's willing to violate the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, search and seizures, Fifth Amendment, due process. As soon as he said these kind of things, it's like you should have realized, get off the Trump train immediately. You got to hold him to the fire, viciously, brutally, so figuratively speaking, by making social media accounts to get your viewpoint across, instead of just keep waving these Trump flags. It's like, he's not your guy. You should have learned that right off the bat, and people stuck with him because they it's some kind of human psychology to get away from ideals and just focus on people. So anyway, when you're one of those people who, like, I used to do that on Twitter. There's a few of us who were vaguely nationalist, constitutionalists, kind of conservative on a lot of issues, but we're also not down with the thin blue line nonsense, because we were telling people, hey, any agent of the state is not your friend. You can. I've seen hundreds of videos of police violating the Fourth, Fifth, and Eighth Amendment. They're in it for a paycheck for the most part. We absolutely need this incestuous relationship between district attorneys and police to end immediately. Yes, we need a robust police department, because America is a mix of all kinds of wild animals. Yes, you're going to have to keep funding the police department. However, if police violate your constitutional rights, they need to be held accountable, and that doesn't mean just getting fired. That means prosecuting, charging them. No immunity. They get charged. I've seen this. You've seen the same videos of cops just deciding to murder somebody. They should be treated the same way as anyone else. This sick immunity needs to stop. And people on the right hear me say this, like, you know, you can take the thin blue line flags and burn them. They're just an abomination, like any other defacement of the flag would be an abomination. And people on the right are like, oh, well, we're going to unfollow you now. It's like, I don't know what you are, but you're not a constitutionalist and you're not a nationalist if you're going to blindly support bad cops or bad presidents. So it's the same with the left, except I'm not exactly sure what the left's dogma is, other than like trans kids. And okay, so here's another thing with the left is like you can only go left on the left, you can't go right. So if you're on the left and there's a TERF issue, TEFR issue, or there's kids like trans kids dancing on stage, you can't put your foot down and say this is fucking abhorrent. These people need to be trebucheted into the sun. Oh no, you're transphobic. No, you're hurting kids. You're mutilating and sterilizing kids. That needs to stop. So both the left and the right has this kind of bullshit. It's like find your dogma, find your core, and be very clear about it, upfront about it. Like we are constitutionalists, we're nationalists, we're ethno-tribalists, we're whatever your core is. That's the kind of right of center people. And say, listen, if you get off, you diverge from this vector, this arrow, this direction that we're moving in. If you get off course, then you're not our guy anymore. This is our course. This is the planks of the platform is what this is. So you got this guy, Russell Brand, who I'm sure was a left-wing guy. He's got a YouTube channel, and that's the reason we're talking about him. He's got a YouTube channel with probably millions of followers, who is not on the left-wing plantation. He's thinking for himself. As you saw with Nicki Minaj and a couple other people in Hollywood were starting to say, yeah, not everything is cool. It's like, yeah, Trump, you can go after Trump and criticize Trump all you want, but that doesn't mean everything the left is doing is cool either. So as soon as he got off the plantation, he looked at the Russian thing and said, oh, so CNN has been lying to us for 4 years. Yeah, I don't know how you're on the left or the right and you don't look at CNN and go, yeah, of course they're far left. Who owns CNN? Who owns 95% of the media, the American mainstream media? Probably more than 95%. Who are the like the 6 companies that own the media? What is their bias? Who are they? What are they invested in? It's like you look at politicians or people who are, you look at politicians, you go, okay, let's look at their immediate family, their spouses, their kids. What boards are they on? What CEOs of companies that involve maybe pharmaceuticals are they on? So now what policy are they pushing when their spouses are, on the boards of like Johnson & Johnson or whatever pharmaceuticals? So like what policy have they made that might indirectly or directly benefit the spouse? It's like Nancy Pelosi, you go, okay, she's worth $40 million. Well, how did that happen? Oh, well, her husband had some very serendipitous business deals. So the timing and the insider information needed to make those deals, how did he? Oh, well, it's not technically insider information, legally speaking, because the Security and Exchange Commission doesn't have jurisdiction over these deals. Okay, yeah, but we're talking about the letter, the spirit of the law. Did her husband do something with insider information that the general public is not made aware of? Yeah, she's worth $40 million, and she's been in office for how many years? Maxine Waters has how many houses? Bernie Sanders has how many houses? Like, if you're on the left, okay, so that's left-wing hypocrisy, that the left wing should be standing up saying, hey, this is horse shit. No, if you're on the right, Trump is not your guy. And if you're on the left, Schumer, Waters, Pelosi, no one in Congress is your guy. There's like 420 people. Yeah, I don't think anyone is your guy. No, not even Rand Paul or Ron Paul or whatever those guys. No, not Ted Cruz, not Ron DeSantis. None of those guys are your guys. They will gladly and happily vote to take away your free speech on state-funded universities in Florida with whatever the Senate bill, whatever that was, Ron DeSantis passed. Trump did the same thing because Israel controls America. They violated your First Amendment right, and nobody on the right or left said a single freaking word. And what's worse is that nobody talked about these people not talking about the issue of free speech because it involves Israel and they're scared to death to talk about it. None of those people are your people. They're not going to risk what needs to be risked. The left and the right have more in common at the lower levels. If you're just Joe Schmo making under $420,000 a year, which is apparently the most of us, you have more in common with the far left and the far right than you do with anyone in office you think is representing you. Okay, so it's emerged as part of the Durham probe, which resulted in an indictment for Clinton attorney Sussman, the story Trump including with Russia to steal. You know, it's funny, they use, like words have legal definitions and they have common usage definitions. And now conspiracy has got a legal definition, probably for civil conspiracies, so those are a thing, and criminal conspiracies. And then you look at something like collusion, and they start using that word, and that should ping off your radar. You go like, is that a legal term? Like, it reminds me of the insurrection thing. You go, well, insurrection, is that a legal term? Is that like a criminal charge, a federal charge? Are we talking about? So the media is using this term insurrection. You should raise your hand and go, well, how many of these people have been charged and convicted? Well, no one's been convicted yet, but how many of these people have been charged for this insurrection? And if none of them have been charged, then why are you using the term if the charge is really trespassing? Shouldn't you be using the term trespassing? As soon as you point out an inconsistency like that, you've pointed out liberal media bias. And you should stop and look at all these media companies who are lying to you. And this is, if you're on the left, it's like, you don't want to be lied to by people on the left just because you think they're agreeing with you. The people who control the media are not agreeing with you whether you're on the left or the right. They have nothing in common with you. They don't like you. You're just a debt slave to them. Anyway, so he says... yeah, the story, so my point is with colluded or insurrection, you go, well, do those words have legal weight? And if so, or if not, where have they been shown to be true? And are you using them accurately in terms of like, oh no, the word we want to use is conspire. So, okay, are they charged with conspiracy? Oh, well, yes or no? I mean, let's find out. It's like, the media has not even had the appearance of being fair and impartial in 30 years. I'm trying to think back to the 90s. Maybe the early 90s they had some appearance. It's been dog feathers for a long time. So the theft of the 2016 election, Trump most likely got elected in 2016 for the simple reason that he was running up against someone who was got to be, of the two most hated people in America at the time, Trump was a little bit less hated than his opposition, Hillary Clinton. Nobody liked Hillary Clinton. Now, the 2020 elections is something else entirely. Anything could happen in 2020. I'm not even... It doesn't even matter so much is that, like, you can't vote your way out of something you didn't vote your way into. And if they stole that election in 2020, we're not going to... What are you going to do? Vote harder next time? It won't make a difference. Was actually fabrication. The Democrats tried to undermine Trump and then went on to win that election. And yeah, the fabrication Democrats, yes, they're crooked, but also CNN, MSNBC, Slate, Salon, Vox, Mike, now this, you get the point. 99% of the media has a far left agenda. So Glenn Greenwald is talking about Rusty Rockets, his big YouTube channel has millions of views. That segment alone, 3 days with no corporate audience, is almost 4 times larger than Don Lemon's audience, Chris Hayes, Joy Reid. You get the idea. The mainstream media is just not selling. You've got people on YouTube who's got like 3 million views or something down here, who have, like, Salty has got probably this. There are people, I'm not sure if Salty's at that level yet, who've got more of a real influence than CNN. Actually, okay, let me take this like Salty might do a stream with, he gets 10,000 viewers, but people are talking about what he's talking about, and it's spreading out through Gab and Twitter and all these other platforms much more than a Don Lemon. And it's also reaching a younger, more politically active audience, so it's an entirely different thing. So the thing is, the people on Twitter lost their freaking minds when someone who's got a big platform starts saying things that go against the platform. Like David Weissman. Good morning to everyone except Russell Brand for believing that Trump was right, calling the Russian collusion a witch hunt. And then Seth Abramson. I've been interviewed by Russell Brand. I think he's smart and well-intended, but he knows nothing about the Trump-Russia scandal. So the thing is, all these are just... You're not attacking the argument, you're attacking the person. And then pro-democracy, Okay, so a bunch of idiots who are partisan, biased hacks who have Sadie Sale blue Twitter accounts pouncing on Russell Brand merely because he dared speak the truth. He's grown up enough to realize he was lied to. Yeah, Nicki Minaj got some of this too. She started to get this vibe like, oh, once you step 1 foot off the plantation, these people will turn on you and stab you in the back. Now, the truth doesn't fear investigation. There should be no problem with saying, hey, let's have a little investigation into this. Let's have everything open, above board, on the table. And it turns out that once you start saying something like this, it just means that you're no longer a sheep. You want the truth. You don't want their narrative anymore. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.